Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I am here at Apex 2020 and I'm joined by Chris Mitchell from IPC. Chris, thanks for stopping by. Every time we talk, there's a turmoil or there's a disruption or something going on in the supply chain. Often it's political. This month, it's very much of the coronavirus. Is there anything that the IPC can be doing to keep its members informed, to look at the challenges, to kind of, help out and perhaps be the voice of the industry?
So we absolutely have been having a lot of conversations with our members, and clearly already we've seen a slight supply chain disruption. We have longer lead times, for example. We're fortunate in that just a few months ago we brought on a new chief economist, Sean Duberback. And he's been in touch with our members, and he's looking at how can we better get a hold of what the impact is on the industry so that we can keep the industry informed. And at the same time, we're also keeping abreast of what developments are taking place within China by the government, as well as what kind of multilateral support is taking place in order to help see a peak in this crisis.
For me, it's one of the biggest challenges is the lack of visibility. It's an unexpected challenge. We're kind of prepared for Chinese New Year when that happens because we know what the timing is going to be. At the moment, we're a little bit lost in that.
Well, I was also struck with just in talking with some of our members, some of whom have business partners, some of whom have facilities in China, and it brings home the fact that this is not just it's just not an issue of supply chain. I mean, there's people involved, and I think obviously our hearts are with China as they try to get a handle on this, and obviously there's fear that if they don't, it spreads. So we all have an interest in trying to do what we can.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. The human side of it's really important, and I think most companies I've spoken to, their first concern is, are our team safe? Are we taking good care of them? So that's fundamentally important. Just shifting gear a second, obviously the whole tariffs thing's been kind of moving quite rapidly over the last few months. Some deals seem to be reached. Where does that all sit at the moment, and how are members responding to what they're seeing there?
So, I think what we can best say is that there's been a pause established in the kind of an escalating trade war between the U.S. and China, and we foresee that pause continuing through 2020. It's a better question of what happens in 2021. I think there are probably a number of factors that have led to that pause. I think both countries have had an interest in kind of trying to at least de-escalate things for some period of time. The Phase 1 deal, we believe, is a positive step, so long as it leads to a Phase 2 deal. The Phase 1 deal, if you look at the Phase 1 deal, the Chinese government has committed to a number of things that, quite frankly, they had already committed to. And so then it becomes a matter of, are they following through with their commitments? What enforcement mechanisms are there? And that's still, from what we can tell, there's still quite a bit to be worked out. And we know that there's ongoing discussions between the U.S. government and the Chinese government. I think if you look at what that Phase 1 deal actually accomplished in addition to these commitments, there's new purchases. We don't know what those purchases from the Chinese really mean. I think there's some concerns around what kind of managed trade policy we're entering into from a U.S. perspective. But if you look at just the tariffs, very minimal impact. I mean, we basically put postponed tariffs that had been scheduled to go into effect in December, and we slightly cut some minimal percentage of the tariffs that had been put in place. And so, stepping back for just a minute, if you look at the tariffs and how they've been structured to hit the supply chain first. And our concern has always been that these are the companies in the supply chain with the thinnest margins, the companies least equipped to weather these kind of tariffs. And we haven't seen any relief. I mean, that's the bottom line. We haven't seen any relief. So while on one hand, the Phase 1 deal is a positive step in the right direction, we're still waiting for that broader deal that will bring down tariffs and provide some of the relief. Meanwhile, of course, we're seeing a lot of supply chain shifts right? As companies hedge and try to figure out how to adapt to this new environment.
Yeah, and that has an impact on other regions like Mexico, and you've got the USMCA deal that has kind of changed things there. Vietnam is rising as another supply chain alternative. So all of this kind of pushes geography in terms of supply chain in multiple directions, and maybe gets to a more regionalized solution, which is maybe where it should end up.
Yeah. And we're seeing a confluence of factors, right? It's not just the changes that are taking place on the trade front. You're also seeing changes taking place on the technology front with the greater adoption of automation and artificial intelligence, and I think that's also helping to drive some of the regionalization that we're seeing, bringing down the cost of production just a little bit to support it. And of course, kind of very much kind of associated with some of these trade issues, there's continuing concerns around trusted electronics and IP protections, and so I think all of that is kind of helping drive this move towards regionalization.
Yeah, and that has a lot of positive byproducts like sustainability and just shorter supply chains make sense, and actually just rushing from one place to the other, chasing low-cost labor doesn't make sense. What else is challenging you in terms of politics, of trends in that area?
So, this is we have just a ton of great things that are going on at IPC. In Europe, we've now established a European Government Relations Committee. That's exciting, and it's directing our policy efforts there in that continent. And we have a new senior director, Allison James, who is helping to spearhead those efforts. There's a ton of interest with the new European Commission in industrial policy and environmental policy. And as an industry, we can't just put our head in the sand. We need to be involved. We need to be at the table, and we need to be coming with the best data and research, just as we are trying to doing here in the United States. And for that reason, we're also stepping up our research program, which is exciting. So we've been over the course of this year, we'll be launching IPC Industry Intelligence, and that's doing a couple of things. So if you look at IPC's research program historically, it's been primarily focused on market research. Now we're broadening the breadth of that research, both in terms of the coverage as well as in terms of geography. And that is helping, that's being supported by new staff coming into the organization. So let me give you an example. Again, we've done market research historically. Now we're doing market and economic research, and that's supported by Sean Dubervac, IPC's new chief economist that came on.
I'm excited to have Sean on board because I've followed Sean's work for a long time at CTA, and the output is excellent. And one of the things that we always did was go to CES at the beginning of the year, listen to what Sean had got to say, and that informed a lot of the debates and discussions that were developing through the year. So having him as part of your team is going to be really interesting.
He's fabulous. Matt Kelly just came on as our chief technologist, so he's going to be helping lead our technology research. Kelly Scanlon, who is kind of dual-hatted. She's both in the government relations department as well as the research department. She's an academic scientist. She's already undertaking wonderful research that the industry is saying this is fantastic. So that's exciting. And then finally, Dave Hernandez, who leads our education team. We're doing some amazing things on the workforce front. He's leading those efforts and is contributing to the direction of our research as well. And so we're hoping that all of this research really helps support the industry and informs all the things that we do at IPC.
Yeah, and it's great to see so much recruitment, so much expansion and breadth in the association. It feels like halcyon days for the IPC. Thanks so much for stopping by. Pleasure to chat, and look forward to next time.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.